Hi, guys, we'll begin shortly. Just a couple of minutes more. Guys, for the time being, please fill in the forms, and that is provided in the description link. And then we'll start in 5 to 10 minutes since all will be joined by then. So, hi guys, my name is Anshika Bajpai, and I am a co-member of DSC. And further on, I'll be your Android facilitator for the same. And I guess my screen is visible to all of you. Now we'll begin the session. So, first of all, welcome you all and have a very good evening. And on the behalf of DSC AKGEC, I, Anshika Bajpai, welcomes you all. Now, on the Android study jams. So, these are the sessions that have been organized by us on the basis of Kotlin language. And first of all, what are the Kotlin Android jams? So Android study jams are community organized study groups which are built for people to learn how to build the Android apps, and it's basically based on using an online training course, right? And we'll begin what is what. First of all, it's mandatory for all of you to please link to fill the forms in the link given in the description and join the WhatsApp group if not, for sure. Now, what is the learning objectives? Learn the essentials of Kotlin programming language, build a variety of Android apps, test practices for the Android development, and discover the resources to continue learning. So these are the basic objectives. Why we are implementing these study jams, why are you people engaged in this kind of learning, and why do we want you to do this. Then what are the basic things like where to start? Like there are two types of tracks in this. First thing is the new to programming, and the other one is having a prior programming knowledge. So in the new to programming track, there is in this type of video, we are dealing with the basics of Kotlin only. When I talk about the basics of Kotlin, I simply mean that we are going to build the Android app based on Kotlin, the basic ones. We are going to learn Kotlin in a slow process. And the second track which we are talking about is having a prior programming experience. Now, what do you think this prior programming experience is all about? It's basically, firstly, it deals with Kotlin Koans. The Kotlin Koans is a JetBeans software wherein we are dealing with Kotlin and how it's using. Okay, and the next thing that we should know is the prior programming experience track is start course. So when you start this, you are enabling with the basics of Kotlin, and as well as with a major part of development through the Kotlin language. And as such, you have a prior knowledge in the Kotlin Koans you can have. Basically, for the prior programming language, if you have an hands-on experience on Flutter or any other like React or something like that, then it would be really good. Now, the new to programming track, what this is all about, because I want to give a just brief about all so that it will be better for you in order to learn how the course and how to begin with this course. Basically, there are two tracks, and you are only getting the certificate for the prior programming track. But why do we want you to enroll in this course and in both the courses? Like if you do the new to programming track, what is the perk of it? First of all, you are not getting any perk. As such, you are only getting the certificate for the prior, but we want you all to enroll in this new to programming track also, because in this will just help you to give an edge over the others, and it will clear your concepts from the very basics. It is from the scratch only, and it will help you to further concept your knowledge. Now, what is the new to programming track? Firstly, it helps you to learn the basics of building the Android apps with the Kotlin programming language and develop a collection of simple apps to start your journey as an Android developer. Now, for this new to programming track, you do not have to have any prerequisites. The prerequisites of it is that you have to have a basic computer literacy and a basic mathematics skills. Now, these two things are the prerequisite of it, and these will be definitely enough if you want to continue with this track. And this is the most basic track. This will, if you do both of the tracks, then Kotlin Koans track would, if you do it or not, it's on your own. That's why we have chosen the prior for our tracks, but it totally depends upon you how you're going to manage to do this, because it's all for you only. Now, the new to programming track, there are different kinds of things what you will learn in this new to programming track. Let me get you a gist of it. It's all about introduction to Kotlin. Your badge will be earned, and your badges will be like first introduction to Kotlin, then you create your first Android app, then thirdly you build a basic layout, and fourth add a button to an app. So basically adding a button to an app will be on an Android Studio, and we'll have to have a gist of it too. Then what will you learn further? It's getting a user input, and the sixth is display a scrollable list. So these are all things which you get to learn when you are involved in the new to programming track. Then the main track which we are talking about is the prior programming experience track, and it is all in all very important because it contains both the Kotlin Koans, and secondly it contains the main thing that we are talking about. So prior programming experience track first learns the essentials of the Kotlin programming language and then learns the fundamentals of the Android development and the best practices by building a variety of Kotlins in app. Now, when I say the Kotlin apps are very efficient, or why do we want to use it if there's a Flutter in the market which is providing both the apps for iOS development also and for the Android development also? But the Google only says that it is developing apps for the Android basis only, right? So for a job scalability, if you talk about the job scalability, then it's good for you to have both the apps. The knowledge of both on hands-on experience on both Android, as well as you have to have a knowledge experience on the application development through Flutter or any other programming language for this sake. Now, what are the prerequisites for you to learn in Kotlin? The first prerequisite is prior programming experience is an object-oriented programming language. So you need to have an idea of any other programming language like Java for that sake. And let me also clear you this thing, that if you are experienced in Java, then it's very simple and fine to work with Kotlin because they are quite similar in nature. Then familiar with how to use an IDE, because for this purpose we are going to use the Android Studio and Intelligence IDE, so you can basically get the idea of it. You should be familiar with the GitHub, because the basics of the GitHub and how to host software to get into touch with it, it's very important. The curriculums used. Start off with the Kotlin Koans exercises to become familiar with the Kotlin syntax and the language features. If attendees are already familiar with the Kotlin programming language, they can skip this step. So it's entirely upon you. If you are aware of the Kotlin language and you do not want to have that portion, so then you can skip it and you can certainly go on the other track, that is the Android Kotlin fundamentals, and you can start the course on ahead. There are 10 pathways that is available. So now this is a list of the pathways that I'm talking about. Basically, it's all about earning the badges, getting more on a Google developer profile, and this also helps you to inherit your knowledge also. So what will you learn? Basically, Kotlin Koans. The first thing is a Kotlin Koans. That's a pre-work session. It's totally and entirely dependent upon you whether you want to do this course or not. Means of Kotlin Koans. Because if you have any prior knowledge, then it's good. If you do not have any prior knowledge, then you can further start with building your first app. And building your first app first is like a hello world and all. Then there's an interactive app. Then building an interactive app is also quite simple. The basic anatomy of an Android app, what are the things, like a dice roller app you're going to create. Then there are different kinds of layouts for that app. Then we are going to start with navigation. How are we going to do that? The activity and the fragment life cycles. So basically these are the different tracks, and you can earn badges by completing one of the other tracks. In the end of the tracks there are activities and quizzes. So by answering the questions listed on the quizzes, you can proceed on to the next one and earn a badge. The architecture components and the databases and the recyclers view. Now further what you will be learning for earning the 8th, 9th and 10th batches is connecting to the internet, repository and work manager, and design for everyone. So this is how all we work on the prior programming experience track, right? Then the next thing that I want to introduce you is how I and why do we want to learn this Kotlin prior experience, right? So prerequisites, I have already mentioned them, like programming experience in Noob's language, which can be Java, C++, or any other programming language for that sake, which is dealing with the objects. Like we can also talk about Dart too. So if you are in hands-on experience with the Flutter or any sort of that language or React, then it would give you an upper hand in it. Then you should have a computer, an internet connection, and basically some of the other things, like you also need to have the Android Studio for that sake. Now, this is an interesting question. What's your programming language and why? Do give your remarks in the live chat. I'll be answering in a break. Now for the today's schedule, we have started to give a brief introduction about the course that I have already given about, briefing you. Then next we will be talking about the Kotlin Koans. What are the Kotlin Koans? Why do we need these Kotlin Koans? And what is the use of it? Then we'll be having a break. In the break, we'll be taking up the questions that will be sending us on the live chat. Then we'll be talking about the Kotlin Koans, and then it's our time to celebrate. Now, what's the concept of an overview? What is Kotlin? Why do this Kotlin is important to us? And why are we teaching this in our college? Kotlin is basically a modern programming language that helps developers to be more productive. So in cases to it has own fragments and own thing, you do not have to go anywhere. You just need to have your Android Studio set up, and you can develop and get multiple of opportunities to develop a full-fledged, well-developed app. Right? So Kotlin is in a way more advanced to any other programming language, and thus in Android it's given edge over everything. The benefits of Kotlin. So the benefits of Kotlin is like it's expressive as concise. Expressive, I mean like you can have any types of code, any types of send, and it's concise, means it's in short form. It's safer to code, and interoperable with Java, means you can easily compare with it. So I already have told you guys that if you have an hands-on experience on Java, working on it, the basic terminology of inheritance and the method overriding and overloading, then this must have helped you. Then structured concurrency. Structured concurrency, like it's really concurrent, and you can have a structured programming. Then the Android development is Kotlin first, right? So whenever we are talking about the Android development, we will always be talking about Kotlin. What are the benefits of Kotlin? Why do we need it? And what is the purpose of this? Then, now let's, after all this discussion, This was all the theory part. Now for a short while we'll be starting about what to code and how, what is the function of the purpose. Like this function main is there, right? So why do we need a function? Function is basically to create functionality, to describe it, and then we have a main. So this main is basically doing all of the work. We do not need to have a class like we had in Java, like an inbuilt class for it to execute a code. This is a simple Kotlin code and this is how it works. Now I also want to show you, this code is basically a basic code where we write in a programming language, and we can just copy this code and we can show it in, this is a Kotlin playground. This Kotlin playground helps you to learn more about Kotlin. You can also use the Kotlin code for this sake, but Kotlin playground is a developer's platform and it's much more easier to work with. So this is a program, and when you run it, you'll get the output of it, like hello world, and this is the hello world program. Now what is this println doing? If you are familiar with Java, or if you don't even be familiar with Java, this println statement, what does it do? This println just prints the statement line by line. That means that if I have written anything after this or beyond this, then it will be printing the print statement. It will print it line by line. So that is the only meaning to it, and there's no else meaning to it. So we have talked about this. What does this code do? This is simply for printing hello world, and that I have shown you in using the software that is Kotlin Playground. The link for the Kotlin Playground, I'll share it on your groups that you have been already active. And meanwhile, if you don't have joined the WhatsApp groups, please do join and fill the forms in the descriptor. This is the function doing. Then what do you notice about Kotlin? What is so different about Kotlin? Firstly, the function main, then main input, because you do not have to create a class for that instance, and println statement, how is it written? So this is a basic syntax for writing the Kotlin code, and as for of now, you must be aware what is main and what is println. Then what are the parameters and the return type? Now when we talk about the parameters, when we talk about a function, so basically, when we are initializing a variable in a function, we are referring to the data type. There are different types of data type, as you all know, like int, double, and similar to that, any other programming language of object-oriented type like Java for that sake, it is same hierarchy of variables and same hierarchy of this is follows. So the rules of precision are all the same. Like if we have to write this addition in this, for this code, the addition is an int data type, and we'll return a plus b. So a plus b both are int data type, so the return of the data type would be int only, right? So function add would be returning int data type only. Like if there is function display, we do not know anything about what we have to display, so we just write unit for that sake, right? If we have to write we specify it, but if we do not need to specify it all the time, and then we write println, and that's welcome for that sake. Then there are two kinds of variables that we use in Kotlin. First is the mutable one and the other one is the immutable one. Now what is the differences between the two? Likewise, we do not mention here like int counter or string counter. We mention var counter and colon int is equal to 5, or for that sake string is equal to 5. The difference lies in var and val. For that sake, var is a mutable variable and val is an immutable variable. The differences is in the name, and it does seem that mutable you can change it, but immutable, if it is a fixed one, you cannot change it, right? So for that sake, it becomes easier for you to understand, and for that way, when we use val name, then the string Rebecca is shown, and but Rebecca is not going to change, so it's clear from that side. But when we talk about the mutable variable, the value might change. Like if you want to change for int purpose to 5, and then we're going to change it to 6 or 7 or 8, so it may change and it may vary. So that's why it's a mutable variable and an immutable variable. The differences between the two are that the mutable will change and immutable will not change. And for that purpose we are using var and val keywords. What's interesting about these variable declarations? Simple. Variable length is equal to 5. That means you can change the length variable. And similarly, val message is equal to welcome. That means the message will not change. It will be welcome till the end of this. Means you can't change it, but in variable length, you can change and edit the length of the object anytime. Now these are some conditions, and using the looping statements, like if score is less than 20, println low. If score is less than 70, so we are using else if statements, and if else, println is high. So these are the kinds of procedures. And when x 0, 1, 2, so you can just define it, and using an else if or a convulsive, or use a when, which will be defining all the three at the same time, and it will save the number of steps too, right? So simple. The one, if for this program, if we want to talk about the if program, so if we talk about if, so look at the pointer. If we talk about the if program, here the score is the variable. Wait a second. Score is the variable, right? So when score, here instead of x we write score. 0, 1 and 2, these remain the same. 0 is for end game, rather than end game we'll write low. For 1 we'll write medium, and for 2 we'll write high, because that is what is showing about. Or you can write 20, 70 and go on like this. You can mention the values of how you are comparing the score. It's basically representing if in a switch case, but it's in a more compact way. So classes, and why do we need one? Basically, if it's a square, we need to maintain, there are different types of specifiers, first of all, public, private and this. And if we want to particular code to be accessed in a particular class or particular area, we need to have a class for it, right? So in Kotlin, we are going to mention each and every variable's data type. Similarly, we are going to maintain this, like val side is int. Val is what? Val is basically saying that the data type, it is immutable, right? And its int is the data type that is specifying. This is a square instance. Instance means an object. Objects are the instance of class, right? So val s is equal to square 10. This means that this is the instance of class. Okay. And when we write s dot side, then it will print the side. Elections, logistics. So these are the Kotlin Koans which I was talking about. You can go on in this site. I'll just be providing you the link. And here you can see that how the Kotlins you're gonna start with, what it is about. And the Kotlin Koans is basically a series of exercises to get familiar with the Kotlin syntax. I've already told you about that. If you're already well versed in Kotlin, then you do not need to do this and just skip it and start the course. But in case you do not know anything about Kotlin, you can also try this, or you can take the new to programming track and get a hands-on better experience on Kotlin, because side by side you get a better idea of it. Then the Kotlin Koans, they work on the first three categories. There are the different categories that I mentioned, that is introductions, conventions and collections. So these three are the categories. You can just scroll down, you can just check on them, and you can complete those exercises and you will get an idea or the gist of what Kotlin is all about. You can have an experience over it, and then you can start the course and write the programs. So this page is basically this one is designed by JetBeans only, and to get a better familiarity with the concepts. So let's get started. I'll firstly direct you to the site, and then we'll be discussing what has to be done. And when you log in, like when you sign in or you register for this course, you must have earned first batch. That is the first batch that you earn. Then on continuously, when you create a developer profile, you'll get another batch, and then we'll start with the track. So I just show you on the number of slides I prepared, and then we'll be seeing it on the website, how it's hosted. So this is a brief introduction about it. Like here's the check error messages. There's the exercises for that sake. Then you can run using this, run code and check output. You can reread the instructions. You can help to show the answers, and you can get familiar with how the Kotlin code is work. And you can just scroll down and you can check. Now I want to show you how the website is and what you have to do. Right. So this is Android Study Jams. You have all the links and you just have to log in. Then first of all, like Anshika Bajpai, it's signed in, right? So when I sign in, you can sign in, and when you sign in, you get your first batch, and this is how. So firstly, these are the tracks. Firstly, I want to brief you about the neutral programming ones. You can have just a look over it. This is Kotlin, and the earnable badges. Basically, I have done this course, so mine profile would be a little bit updated only. But don't worry. There are Unit 1s and Unit 2 for the courses, right? So what I have planned is we'll be taking the Kotlin session today, and then in the next session we'll be talking about the Unit 1 of the prior programming track, and in the third session we'll be covering the Unit 2 of the prior programming track. Now this is how it's shown: the Android basics, the introduction to Kotlin, and when I click on it, there are 3 activities. Like it's asking me to welcome to Android Studio Basics in Kotlin, and having a video on it. You can skip this part, it's an optional thing. And then is build your first Kotlin in app, write your program code. So you'll just go there, take this code lab. Before you begin, write your code. Then you can just have an overview, what is all about, like println happy birthday Jhansi, you are 25, right? So you are gonna use this. Firstly, what I was all talking about, there's this link, the http developerandroid.com training Kotlin playground. You can just click on that. It will direct you to the page similar to what I have already shown you, the Kotlin playground, right? You can just go there, execute these programs, and you'll get a better idea what Kotlin is all about. I certainly prefer you to do this because it will give you a better idea when you are dealing with it. Then the quiz is there. You have to earn a batch, you always have to take the quiz. There are specific set of questions and you have to answer them, and when you will answer them correctly, then only you will be, like it's written, let's do the quick test. You must answer at least 5 questions correctly out to pass this pathway. So when you will be answering the questions in the right way, then only you will be given a H in a badge also. Android Basics, create your first Android app. Android Basics, build a basic layout. Android Add a button, add an app. So these activities are pertaining to Unit 1 of Kotlin. And then there's Unit 2 of the new to programming track. It's up to you how much time you take to finish these activities, because you can finish it in a week also, you can finish it in a month also. It's totally and entirely dependent upon you. And at the end of the each week, we are planning to circulate a form to you all guys on your WhatsApp groups, and we'll be checking your status, because this all what I'll be doing, it will be shown in your um, private accounts of the developer's profile, right? So badges will be displayed there, so we'll just keep a track of what you are guys doing, right? Now the prior programming track, like start Kotlin Koans. If you have the knowledge, it's good, but not, then you have to start. And these are the cones. You can also have the access to the playground from here also, because playground is easy to use, so it's better to use the playground only. But anyways, you can use this Kotlin Koans software also. So it's basically, I've already told you, it's a series of exercises to get you familiar with the Kotlin syntax and some idioms. And each exercise is created as a failing unit test, and your job is to make it pass, right? So it's you via JetBeans educational plugin, right? Inside the Intelligence JID or the Android Studio, so you can get there also. So it's one of the most popular platform and the most effective ways to get into Kotlin for the people who already know Java. So if you are well versed with Java, that's upper hand for you guys, because it will definitely and literally help you guys, right? And that is what I wanted to tell. So here's this introduction. In the introduction, you have 12 marks. The 12 programs are there. On the basis of hello world, there's this program. You can show the answer, what the output is required, and you can simply do it on your basis. Like named arguments, here it is given, and you can access it. Default arguments, lambdas, the questions on each set, you can access them, and you can do them. Then there is conventions. The conventions also providing you 6 to 7 programs, and similarly there's collection where you can hands of experience on 12 programs. So these are all about the progress. These are the unit tests for these cases are failed. You have to complete them and get a better idea of what they're all about, right? So this was all about the Kotlin Koans. Yeah. So I'd like to pick up the questions. If you have any questions, you just drop it in the live chat. I'll see answering them. Yeah, so it was your answer right question, like can I do first new to programming track and then the prior to programming? It's basically up to you how you can manage. If you can manage, it's good, and if you cannot, then better do the prior to programming track, because you all know that your certificate will only be provided for that track. The next question. You do not need to worry about what you have done while covering the course. It's totally and entirely dependent upon you, and you can re-register yourself for the programming courses. It's total, but just pinch me on the WhatsApp group, right? If you want to change your track, if you want to have selected another track and you are gonna take another one, you just have to pinch me there on. Means you have to tell me that how you'll be taking that and how you'll be doing that. Okay, for the attending of the quizzes, you can add it multiple times because there's no time limit. They only want you to learn more and more from that. And so basically, it's up to you how many times you want to do the quizzes. But if you attempt it for the first time, it will be really good. It's upon your self assessment, so it's neither like. My advice to all of you is to kindly join the WhatsApp group and to fill the form in the description, so that will be help you, and we'll also be aware and how be keeping a further track upon it, right? Yeah, so what we'll be learning about the course, right? So I've already mentioned we'll be learning a basic of programming only, because this course is also letting you know about what are the basics of coding and programming and stuff. So we'll also be helping you to work on with it, and you need not need to worry about anything. You just have to be aware of what should be done. Now, let's further continue with what we have left. So, first of all, what is the changes that you notice about Kotlin? Kotlin is basically, if you see, it's a very efficient language as such, and you can get a better experience on it. Now, we'd also like to share what you have learned with us, and let me show you how the Google profile looks like. Just a minute. Yeah. So basically, on the completion of your track, you'll be headed towards the beginning of it, right? So with this, I would like to wind up today's session. I think I have covered everything that has to be around what have to be done regarding the course. What is the outline of the course? How is to be started? How to begin with it? And in case you have any doubts or queries regarding it, you just can pinch me on the WhatsApp group either, or you can just pinch me here. Like, do we have to download any software or IDs? If so, yes, specify. It's will be good if you download the Android Studio on the Intelligence ID, and it will definitely help you on to work with, right? Basically, hands-on experience is better than just learning and cramming, because cramming never really helps. So we'll be doing it like that. Link for the attendance form, it's provided in the description, guys. I've already repeated this 3 times, right? So, and rest. I would like to end the session today, and thank you for attending and being a patient listener to it. And I think it's up for the questions, and now we are done with it. In case of any other queries, you can just ping me on the WhatsApp group, and you can also let me know. And yeah, you can only need the Android Studio for that purpose. You don't need to have any other software for that. And well, it's my personal thing. When I went on to this course, I also had this because I am an Android developer. I had done it in Java, and similarly, I had also have an application development takes on that app Flutter, but I was not apt with this Kotlin. So what I thought was it's quite similar to Java, but what is the difference and why do we need to do that, right? So I also thought that first that I am apt with it, I should start with prior programming track only. But when I thought of it, I started with new to programming track. When I began with this new to programming track, I realized that it is also a basic necessity for us to learn this because it gives us an edge when we learn the prior to programming track, because sometimes we do not need to do the things only for the certificate sake, right? So it's better if you all also agree with me to do this new to programming track, because it will only help you guys to be more better and well versed with this topic, right? So guys, thank you so much for being such a patient listener and listening to all my things, and that's all for the today's session, and see you guys in the next session, and kindly drop in your queries if any. And I would also like to say that this was all a theoretical session, the first session, but I'll ensure you that the second session and the third session will definitely be a more interactive one, because in the first session we have to introduce you to the basic concepts, so we are dealing with the theory, but that will be a more to a programming part, and a better introduction to it. Okay, thank you guys. Now I'll be ending the stream. Is there any specific deadline to complete the course? That's 25th Jan, and we have already mentioned it. Can we start this course anytime you want? Yeah, you can just start. Just refer to it and let me know. And like after a week, yeah, you can just start it either this time or, well, that's totally upon you, no. So whether you want to start at this point of time or the other point of time, but you have to complete it. The fixed deadline is that you have to be present before 25th of January. If you haven't enrolled also, no, you have a time to enroll in it course, but you have just to complete it before the 25th of January, right? I think I have completed with most of the questions, and we can end the stream right now, right? Thank you so much, guys.